So first of all, how did you get into American football?
So, in terms of being a fan of American football for years since I was a kid, I've definitely been a fan of the NFL through my dad's influence, him always being into the NFL since like back in the 80s. But in terms of getting involved with playing and coaching and American football in this country in general, when I was at secondary school, about 13 years old, the Kent Exiles they were part of the school did like a summer event where it was like a community event, people to attend in different stalls and things like that. And they had like a little booth there to try and recruit some players and get some interest. And that was my first, not only connection to the Kent Exiles, which is obviously the club that I've been involved with the whole time I've played and coached, but also just to even knowing that there was an American Football League in the UK and that it was actually played competitively, fully kitted, full contact, all of that. Tried out with them a little bit and realised straight away that I wanted to be involved. Went down and played. At the time, you couldn't play until you were 14. So I trained with them for a year from the age of 13. Started playing at 14 and then played all through the youth and junior and senior level before I then got into the coaching side of things, which again, all through the Exiles and coached youth level and now junior level, yeah.
What would you say drew you to that sport specifically?
I think definitely American football, the reason I love it so much is because it's so physical and um, such a high level of physicality in terms of the contact and the athletes that you see on the field, but also it's so mental as well. It's like a chess match. You have to have such an
Yeah,
understanding of being so intelligent with your playmaking and your play calling and reading what the opposition is doing. I like the combination of having to be really smart and play really smart, but also be really physical. And I think also from the physical side, the fact that there's a position for everyone. Like if you look at an O lineman versus a wide receiver, totally different athletes, but still elite examples of athletes in their given discipline. You get O
yeah,
linemen who look more like powerlifters and strength athletes, and you get receivers who look more like they'd be in athletics if they were competing in other sports.
yeah.
And I like that on that field in a given game, you've got such a mixture of people at the top of their game, but in quite different disciplines, all contributing to the overall impact of the team. I think that's what
Uh,
definitely appeals to the physical side.
and carrying on from that, since you've been involved with American football, obviously it's not that common here in the UK, but have you seen it evolve quite a lot, or is it really stayed the same?
Massively, no, massively, massively evolved. Even in, so I've been involved since I started playing at 13 and I'm 26. So 13 years roughly I've been involved in one way or another. When I was first playing at about age 14, the division was us, the London Blitz and the London Warriors. And we'd turn up to games with, if we were lucky, we might have 10 kids, but we'd often have like 7, 8, 9 players to go and play 5-on-5 football. And we'd always lose to the Warriors and try and beat the Blitz. And us and the Blitz were about 50-50 maybe. And
Yeah.
that was it for a few years. Every season was that. Now there are so many more teams. So many more teams are running things in a much more professional manner with a high level of coaching and a high level of expectation of skill on the field and just seeing such talent on the field. Not only that, but there are outlets for people to take the sport further in this country. So you can go on from these BAFA teams and these UK league teams now are taken seriously by American programs like high schools, JUCOs, colleges, whatever, or by European semi-pro programs. They'll look at these teams to scout and recruit from. And then we've seen loads of examples of kids who come, even if you just take our club, who come through the Exiles and have gone on to play for like Bristol Pride, which is an academy team, or the NFL Academy, which obviously is a very recent addition, which I think has a lot of positive implications. Or they've gone into Europe, played semi-pro, they've gone to the States, anywhere from high school through the college levels all the way up to Division 1, And we've even had people go and be involved in the NFL. I'm not going to pretend we've had any starters who've gone on there and made a big impact in the actual NFL season.
Yeah.
We've had guys who've gone to the NFL and been on the practice squad for teams and things like that. And just the fact that you can play for a team in this country and it's now a realistic prospect to think, if I'm good enough at this and I work on it in the right way, I can take it to quite a high level. I don't think that was the case when I first got involved. It was a bit of a novelty, sideshow type of deal. It's taken a lot more seriously now. And even the fact that with things like the NFL Academy, it's not all about the NFL Academy, I think, because that gets a lot of attention. So people are quick to, I'm probably guilty myself, like quick to label that as like, oh, that's the best example of like kids doing well and having prospects. There are loads of other avenues too. Absolutely there are. But that's one example. But it's great to see that now even being on TV, on Sky Sports, you know, they'll show like, this is what the NFL Academy's up to. It's just taken so much more seriously. And rightly so, because the talent is so much better than it was when it was first developing and growing. And there's definitely a correlation between how the sport from a playing and coaching perspective has grown in relation with how the sport being viewed has grown. NFL fan bases in the UK, the Wembley games and Tottenham games that have been happening over here, the regular season games held in London. As all of that has grown and more people are interested in the sport from a fan perspective, it stands to reason that more people are going to take it up from a playing and coaching perspective.
Obviously, the academies, they have helped grow the profile of the sport here and made like a clearer pathway over to America and obviously other leagues in Europe. Do you think that we'll see more of those, not just necessarily in Europe, but just, do you think we'll see more similar academies like Filton Pride and the NFL Academy?
I think we have to, because I think we have to see some of the BAFA clubs, like there was always such a discrepancy in even within BAFA. So say for example, when I played for the Kent Exiles adult team, we were in like Division 3 at the time. And we'd play like, say someone like Maidstone. We would beat Maidstone like 80-0, 100-0. So there was, and we were Division 3. So as ridiculous as that looked, if we played someone in Division 2, we'd lose by that sort of margin. And if we played someone in Division 1, like the Warriors, Christ, it like wouldn't have even been any point turning up. So there's such a discrepancy. So then you start to think teams like the Warriors, I've heard that they were interested in joining the semi-pro leagues in Europe and representing as London. Now, I would argue that they probably get thrashed in that. But it's interesting that there's still such a discrepancy. And what I think will happen is some of the higher level teams that are competing in some of these leagues, they will want to start to have higher level competition. And also the league teams that currently exist, like the NFL Academy and Bristol Pride, they're going to want people to play. Because Bristol Pride, they play university teams, they play European teams. But again, when they play a university team or a BAFA team or something, they absolutely thrash them. The NFL Academy haven't played any competitive games yet, I don't believe, but they're going to want to. So we're going to need to be thinking of the BAFA teams who can kind of step up and potentially present a program that's like an academy type program, or of the university teams who is taking it seriously enough at university that they could actually present more of a proper full-on academy type university program. All of these have got to be things that people are thinking to explore, because as the sport grows and people want avenues for success and they want, like, we're going to want to take advantage of that. These teams are going to want to take advantage of that, because otherwise everyone's going to go to the same couple of teams, or everyone's going to go to Europe or go over to the States at the earliest possible age and go and do school over there and stuff if they have that option. I think we definitely will have more teams playing at that kind of academy competitive level that's taken seriously as a recruitment avenue for semi-pros, colleges, professional ranks, all of that, yeah.
Also, more recently, obviously, COVID's had quite a big effect on, obviously, not just professional sports, but obviously grassroots sports in the UK. how much of an impact do you think it's had on BAFA, and do you think that it's changed people's perception of whether to play in here? Because obviously it's not it's paid to you pay quite a bit to
Yeah,
play each season.
I think from my perspective, first of all, I'm coaching under 19s junior football. I think that is the hardest age range to keep players interested anyway. I think that's always been the case because you're age 17 to 19. In that time, you finished up GCSEs, but you're still potentially doing studies. You might be doing A levels. You're getting apprenticeships. You're getting part-time jobs. You're getting full-time jobs. You're starting driving. You're getting a girlfriend. You're discovering the pub. You're getting new hobbies and interests. Like there's so much going on in your life in that window of time and so much change that it's not a done deal and guarantee that the kids who played at flag and youth are going to stick it out and be like, yeah, no, I'm still absolutely sticking around for junior. You're going to lose a lot of players. So retention of players at that age range is really important. And the appeal of playing American football in this country is that it's quite a unique sport. And if you're going to do it, you want to be in kit, on a field, playing full contact and competing in American football. You don't want to feel like you're just in a field in your normal clothes doing a bit of conditioning work, you know? You want it to be sport specific and you want to feel like you're getting the most out of that sport. And I definitely think that there are people who the training that we've been able to provide are not coming down because they think, what's the point? I'm not even in kit. It's not even proper football. And I see their point completely. That said, I think we're doing a good job of having other options for the time being. The fact that we've got classroom sessions over Zoom, looking at playbook and stuff, the fact that we have got training going on now, physical training again, but bearing in mind the rules and making sure we're following social distancing practices and all that. There are other teams that I'm sure are doing the same sort of thing. Equally, there are other teams that I know are just not bothering with anything because they think, what's the point? And I can see their mindset is very difficult to adapt. But you've got to think that that's going to mean a loss of players, a loss of interest, and a season, whenever the season comes around, of less prepared teams with smaller squads. It must be the case. I suppose we'll see if and when we get a full season.
Okay. And finally, what would you say to someone that doesn't really know much about the sport? What would you tell them what would you say to sort of try and get them involved and get a larger interest in it?
I would reiterate that there's a position for everyone in American football. And from a physical perspective and a mental perspective, if you're someone who really wants to study the game and know all the ins and outs of the finer detailed points of every aspect, you can do that and there's a position for you and there's a role for you. If you're someone who just wants to be on the field, getting involved and just be told, run that way, hit that guy, you can do that too.
Yeah.
If you're a 6'8", 300 and something pound monster versus you're a 5'6", like nothing of you, there's a position for you. There's a way of you getting on that field and making an impact in the game. So I think it has such a broad appeal. There's so many people who like football, soccer, if you want to call it that for the distinction, who will watch a Premiership game or something and look and think like, I don't look like any of those guys. Because give or take, they all look the same, don't they? They all look like fairly average height and build, in good shape, athletic frames, lean. They've got the cardio and the stamina. They're skilled in their position and the technique. But they're all like, although there's different positions, there's different things going on. To a casual observer, they all look like the same type of athlete. American football, look at, as I say, the number one wide receiver and the number one guard, and look at them side by side, and you just think, what, they're playing the same sport if you didn't know what the sport was all about. So that's what I'd reiterate. There's absolutely a position for everyone. Also, yes, it's a grassroots sport. Like at an amateur level, it's not as obvious that it's played all over the country, but it is played all over the country. You definitely have a local club wherever you're living. There's a club that you can get to, you can be involved in. It's played competitively with leagues and divisions up and down the country. And in more recent years, there's prospects to take it further. If you find it's something you love and that you're good at, it's something that you can devote time and attention to and succeed in and take to a higher level if you want to. That's on the cards for you, you know. So I would encourage anyone who's thinking about playing sport in any capacity, have a look at American football, 100%.
Okay. Thank you very much for this interview.
No worries, mate.
It's been a pleasure, and good luck for next season.
Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate it.